an MEP. Now, let's get the views of independent MEP Jonathan Arnott. A very good afternoon to you, Jonathan.
Good afternoon.
Now, you were listening to Jude Curtin-Darling there. Were you... I understand that you were also up all night reading the draft withdrawal agreement. What do you think of it?
Indeed, normally you'd expect a document like that to send you to sleep. 585 pages, trying to read that late at night. It's never going to be the most fun in the world. But actually, it's just something that was so important to understand. And I think a lot of what Jude's saying, as much as I disagree with Jude politically on a lot of things, I think there's elements of her analysis that I completely agree with. You know, it is designed to be something that's difficult for the average person to make much sense of it. All of those 585 pages, when you read them, they're constantly referencing EU regulations throughout, without specifying specifically what it is that is intended to do. Or it mentions the transition period for the end on the 31st of December 2020. And you think, oh, so it is actually going to end then, is it? And then you read later on, you find Article 132, and that then tells you, no, but we might then, this joint committee that they're setting up might then actually decide to delay the end of that transition period to the 31st of December of 2000X, and they don't even specify the year. So it gives massive possibilities that we could be sort of trapped in this kind of period of purgatory for year after year after year.
Well, Jonathan, did you when this all started off, 3 years ago or so, did you foresee this absolute political chaos on the horizon?
I think the one thing I did foresee to an extent was the one thing that I've worried about more than anything else about Brexit. I'm absolutely convinced that Brexit should be a good thing, but one thing that has concerned me right from the get-go, and one thing that I actually said when I was during the referendum campaign, when people said, "What's the biggest weakness of your position?" and of course they asked the same question of Remainers. My worry was always that the people who would be negotiating that Brexit were going to end up being people who had supported Remain in the first place.
What would you have done then? What would you have done if you were negotiating Brexit for the government? What would you have done? What would you have asked for?
I think the point is that what you want is the closest possible relationship with the European Union that actually delivers on the reasons that people voted for Brexit. I think what's happened is Theresa May has been basically scared. She's been terrified throughout this process. And she's been trying to effectively take a photocopy and say, well, how can we replicate every single bit of our relationship with the European Union, rather than looking to the question of how can we improve, what can we get as value added from Brexit, how can we respect the referendum results first, and then say, within that, how close a relationship can we have with the European Union?
Can I ask you a very honest question?
With something on a Canada style. Yeah, sure.
Can I genuinely? I'm really, really interested. Do you believe that we will be better off out of the EU than we are now, financially?
I believe that. Yes, in the long term. I believe that. What
will happen in the short term then? What do you say the long term? What's going to happen in the immediate 5 years after leaving the EU?
Well, it depends very much on the deal. If you have a deal like the one that Theresa May is negotiating, I don't think it makes a massive difference one way or the other, quite frankly, because you don't gain anything with your ability to negotiate trade deals with third countries. So, with the draft withdrawal agreement that Theresa May has come back with, the reason I'm slightly hesitant in answering your question is that I'm not sure how much economic difference that really makes one way or the other. What you have to do is make sure that you've got the ability to develop the nation in the longer term. Now, the difficulty here is I just don't see that there's any ambition, any drive, any determination from Theresa May. And what we should be looking at is planning a future for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
We're running out of time, Jonathan.
Trying to plan for our own future in the next 6 months.
We're running out of time. Now, very, very quickly, if you don't mind, can you see Theresa May surviving? I know she's ready just to go to the lectern to do a speech very, very shortly. Can you see her surviving the night?
I think she can survive the night, but I don't think she can survive very much longer than that. Because one way or the other, either the 48 letters are going to go in, she's going to face a motion of no confidence from her own party, or it's going to get to the withdrawal agreement's going to go to Parliament, and Parliament's going to vote it down. Either way, I think she's got very, very serious questions and challenges to her authority as Prime Minister, and on something that has been fundamentally right at the centre of British political life for the last couple of years. I don't see how any Prime Minister can reasonably survive all of that. So I think it's very unlikely that she survives. The only chance that she's possibly got is she faces down a motion of no confidence and then somehow persuades those same people to vote for the withdrawal agreement. Very, very unlikely in my view.
Jonathan, as always, thank you very much for your opinion here on BBC TEES. That's independent MEP Jonathan Arnott. It is 17 minutes past 5.